excited about it.
But ABC's Jim Ryan says not everyone agrees.
This is Jim Ryan in Milwaukee. Donald Trump's choice of running mates is not sitting well with some in the convention hall. Chris Fussner is here from Wyoming.
J.D. Vance is very anti-Ukraine, and he's on the extreme right of the party, and he's young and inexperienced.
Meanwhile, the GOP has checked one of the boxes of this convention, formally handing Donald Trump the delegate votes necessary to become the party's presidential nominee. Jim Ryan, ABC News, Milwaukee.
Vance was once a never-Trumper who became one of the former president's staunchest supporters. This is ABC News.
Summer is heating up, just like the deals at Omaha Steaks. From perfectly aged steaks to juicy burgers, Omaha Steaks is your summer grilling headquarters. Shop the Hotter Than Fire sale at omahasteaks.com for exclusive, unconditional money-back guaranteed packages starting at $99. Plus, get an extra $10 off with promo code QUALITY at checkout. Visit omahasteaks.com, code QUALITY for an extra $10 off. Shop the Hotter Than Fire sale today, before these deals go up in smoke.
Omaha Steaks, America's original butcher.
Offer not valid in all states or where prohibited by law. Loans are subject to lender approval. See website for details.
Honey, the credit card bill came, and we're maxed out.
Maxed out cards, rent is due. We just need some extra cash to help us get by.
Maybe we should go to 27cash.com.
With our bad credit?
27cash.com is one of the largest personal loan networks. They can help people with any type of credit get up to $5,000, and cash can hit our bank account as soon as tomorrow.
When you need extra cash, go to 27cash.com. That's 27cash.com. 27cash.com.
WNSR, Nashville Sports Radio.
Have you ever met a single person in your life that enjoys paying taxes? No, no one does. If you can't sleep at night because you have a huge problem with the IRS, I've got some free advice for you. This service is strictly limited to individuals that owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes. And if you qualify, we can guarantee that you won't be writing a big fat check to the IRS, or our services cost you nothing. The first 100 people that call today will get a free tax consultation worth $500. Stop worrying about your IRS problem. We can help you, we promise. Call the tax doctor right now. I mean right now, to learn more.
800-649-0142. 800-649-0142. 800-649-0142. That's 800-649-0142.
Hello, I'm Greg Figueroa.
And I'm David Figueroa. Over 30 years ago, my brother Greg and I set out on a mission to offer the world a better hot sauce.
That's right, David. We made Melinda's thicker, hotter, and better than ordinary hot sauces.
And now we have 32 exciting and delicious sauces that hot sauce fans are obsessed with, like our ghost pepper sauce, our Thai sweet chili, and our best-selling black truffle hot sauce.
Melinda's also has 5 spicy ketchups made with real sugar and no added junk like high fructose corn syrup. People ask David and I, what makes Melinda so good? That's easy. We think like chefs do. Instead of burning someone with hot peppers and vinegar, we use fresh plant-based ingredients and the finest chili peppers perfectly blended to set your mouth on flavor.
Go to melindas.com to find our line of craft condiments at Walmart and other fine retailers. And right now, get 20% off our award-winning sauces with code SPORTS at melindas.com. That's melindas.com. melindas.com.
Here we go! From the Nashville Sports Radio Media Complex, this is the George Plaster Show. Call George now at 615-844-5600 and online at WNSR.com. And now, George Plaster.
Featuring Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer Watson Brown, Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer Kelly Holcomb, along with young gun Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in. It's a Monday where our show is everywhere. Nashville, Murfreesboro, Dallas, Texas. You name it, we're there. Let's start in Murfreesboro and say as quick a hello to Kelly Holcomb as we possibly can. Kelly, how are you?
I'm good, George. Let's get it rolling.
Let's get it rolling. Hang with me. Billy Derrick, also in Nashville. How are you?
I'm good. Let's go. Let's do it.
Okay, let's do it. Why don't we get to the update on your end, which will be very, very quick. Then we're going to Big D.
Let's do it. It is brought to you by Lori Burnett Leland, MortgageLadyUSA.com, or call her, 615-969-4350. All right, thought I'd save a lot of the football, the meat of the bone, for Billy 2, but we got the Home Run Derby tonight, and the full slate is announced. We got just a taste of who's actually competing in it. Tonight, 7 o'clock tonight. Pete Alonso is the plus 300 favorite, which you risk $100, you win $300. Gunnar Henderson at 400. Bobby Witt at 425. Marcell Ozuna, 480. Might want to hop on that. But Danny's guy, Teoscar Hernandez, plus 1,200. So you could get some money back if Teoscar wins that Derby tonight. Do y'all have a pick?
Yeah, what the heck? I'll go Marcell.
Oh, I like that. I'm going to go. Let's do it 3 times. Pete Alonso.
Oh, three-peat for Pete.
That's right. Let's do it.
The three-peat for Pete tonight. So that is at 7 o'clock tonight, the Home Run Derby. All-Star game tomorrow night. And it was announced over the weekend that Paul Skeens will be the starter for the National League. And Aaron Judge came out and said that he's excited to see electric stuff from Paul Skeens. Danny talked about that, about Skeens facing all those hitters. That's going to be one of the more anticipated All-Star games, even though he'll probably pitch 2 innings. But I'm excited about that, George, just to see him face those bats. I mean, you got an All-Star bat left and right that he'll have to face.
I'm excited to try to get the National League a second consecutive victory. It's been a while since my league has had a streak. Let's go.
Does it matter anymore? Does this game matter?
Does to me.
Okay.
How's that?
I like it. George, Billy's the update today. Billy 2 has got some SEC Media Days info, so I don't want to steal his thunder. So let's throw it out to Dallas.
Okay, he is live at the Omni Hotel in Big D, site of this year's SEC Football Media Days. Billy, tell us what it's like.
It is packed, certainly an exciting time of year. Hold on just momentarily.
Uh-oh.
There we go. Sorry about that. You guys hear me? I apologize about that.
Go ahead.
Gentlemen, all is well here in Dallas. Obviously, an exciting time, maybe the most buzz we've had around this event in quite some time. You know, the headline, of course, that Texas and Oklahoma are about to embark on their first year in the SEC, which has brought just an absolute media circus down here to Dallas. And certainly it's full steam ahead, it feels like, on the season. We had Commissioner Sankey lead things off today, and that was certainly the crux of his press conference, was talking about just, you know, how much this changes the landscape of the conference, what college football in his eyes should look like going forward. And that was followed by 2 teams that are very much, you know, going to be competing for what is a new look 12-team playoff at LSU and Ole Miss. We also got to hear from Vandy head coach Clark Lee and a couple Vanderbilt players alongside South Carolina as well. 2 teams that had disappointing seasons last year, but are looking to turn things around in 24.
Let's talk about Sankey for a minute. I thought the first 30 minutes was a complete waste of time. It was just him saying how great he is.
Yeah, not a whole lot of substance today. You know, there was some talk. I think you were kind of in on this as well. I kind of felt the same way, that, you know, there had been some cancellations in the non-conference, which kind of led me to believe that they were going to move to the 9-game schedule. I asked him point blank about it later, and he kind of gave me a very political answer. But one of the most telling things today, I think, was him talking about all the different sort of legislative arms that are making their way into college football. When you talk about Congress, when you talk about the courts, when you talk about the NCAA, and, you know, there was a very clear, you know, sort of determination from him that I kind of think he really wants moving forward for the SEC and the other major conferences, or maybe just the Big Ten, to really be the driving decision makers in college football. You know, he's kind of alluded to the fact that he doesn't think politicians are going to solve all their problems, and he wants to make sure that the SEC is going to decide things moving forward.
Talk to me about Ole Miss, because they feel like a program that while in the past they wouldn't have been near the top 12, what I saw against Penn State a year ago in that bowl game told me everything I need to know. They are legit.
Yeah, it's a whole new world these days in college football, and there's a number of programs that have really, grabbed the horse, grabbed the horse by the neck and been able to really get things going. And it feels like they're hitting their stride at a perfect time. This is an opportunity where, the college landscape is more competitive than ever because of the way that NIL can start to spread talent. And you're seeing that with Ole Miss. Obviously, Lane Kiffin, a very a head coach that's pretty unconventional in the way that he does things, but has been able to make great strides. They mentioned today that there's only 2 coaches in the history of the Ole Miss program that have won 10 games. He's one of them now. And addressed, the major deficiency of last year's team, which was defense. And, he went out and got some big talent on that side of the ball through the transfer portal. Right behind me, you can see Jackson Dart's doing an interview. He comes back at quarterback, bring back an incredibly talented core of receivers and tight ends, and add a really talented player from South Carolina, Juice Wells. It's going to be an offense that's very tough to stop and a defense that could be about as dominant as any in the league if things go well. And he kept talking about that. You see all these teams in the NFL where free agency makes them look like a good team, but it's about culture. It's about developing a team. Recruiting the guys is just one part of the process.
Kelly, you got a question for Bily Jones?
Yeah, I just thought about, like, he is so set on discussing the 16 teams. We're going to be 16 teams. We're going to be that for a long time. I mean, I'm happy with 16 teams. Do we believe him?
I don't know. I think part of it is the fact that this ACC grant of rights is pretty tied up. And I don't think there's anywhere that the SEC would want to go in the Big 12. So I think the ACC question is kind of put off till 2035 when Florida State and Clemson are released from that. But to be honest, Kelly, if there was a chance to go get Florida State or Clemson, I think the SEC would have already done it. And, he kind of said that, 16 is our present, 16 is our tomorrow. Listen, if there's an opportunity, obviously they can nab it. But, they know that Florida State and Clemson want to be in the SEC just as badly, as they'd want to go anywhere. So I think they know that, if the opportunity ever arises that, they won't need to go bidding with another conference, that they can get Florida State and Clemson to join pretty easily if they, if that situation arises.
And those are the only 2 teams that I foresee ever. Like, they've got 16 now, and if they can get Florida State and Clemson in the conference, I do say that he cuts it off. I don't think anybody else. I think that's who they're eyeing, and if that ever comes up, I think he will go get them. But, like, I don't see anybody else other than Florida State and Clemson.
Yeah, Miami's the other one I would have my eye on. I still think you're right, Kelly, that it probably is just Florida State and Clemson. But, if Miami was there for the taking, I certainly think they take a hard look at that just because, in college football, what matters is less the TV markets and, how great a team is year in and year out, but it's about the brands and it's being able to put some matchups that look so good on paper. And Miami's a very marketable team, even if, on the field, they've been a bit lacking in the past, decade or so.
Billy Derrick, give me one question for Bily Jones.
Well, Billy, we obviously talk all the time about Vanderbilt. Can Vandy get over the hump in the SEC? I don't know how much you got to hear from Clark Lee, and obviously we'll be playing our interview with him today. But what's the sense you got? You're there. I mean, what's your sense on what they're feeling about this season and whether or not they're confident?
I didn't feel a great confidence. What I did feel is though kind of a new direction and a kind of spirit that Clark Lee had that, listen, part of, I think the ending of a season can often kind of, the taste that you leave a season with can kind of put you off from where you really are. And I think that was the case for Vanderbilt in 22, where, you eke out those wins against Florida, Kentucky. I think they thought they were a lot closer to, getting to the kind of middle of the pack of the conference than they really were. And I think maybe took some things for granted going into this offseason. But listen, they made some big changes. He'll talk about what they did specifically on this show, but he's talked over and over about what a big help Jerry Kill has been to this staff. And, listen, Jerry's been a guy that's won everywhere he goes. And, I think Clark, to be able to lean on a more experienced coach like Jerry is going to be huge for him this year. And, they're going to be up against it with this new schedule. But, that's the kind of thing that you point to that makes you say, maybe this team has a chance to move things in the right direction. But it definitely, I didn't feel that there was a great confidence radiating, but we'll see. I think it's certainly clear that they've made some changes. We'll just have to find out if those changes can pay off.
Okay, Bily Jones, thank you for a good first report. We'll check back in with you right after the news at 5 o'clock. After the break, you will hear our interview with Vanderbilt football coach Clark Lee. Then at 5 o'clock, you'll hear some of the Q&A with Greg Sankey, where he got off of the How Great Thou Art and started getting into the real meat and potatoes of what is going on. So from Nashville to Murfreesboro to Dallas, we have got it covered as you listen to the George Plaster Show on 95.9 FM.
It was the most horrible experience that any mother could ever go through. I knew that I needed to get help. My friend, she immediately said, "You need to call Bart Durham." And you guys were there within an hour. You guys are like family for us.
Yeah, sure is nice to connect with the people that you're doing your best to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from, and for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5688.
Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com. Themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
Okay, before you hear from Vanderbilt football coach Clark Lee, let's say hello to Richard Pearl, who is back in Middle Tennessee. Richard, how are you?
Wow. Got me in front of the coach, man. I'm feeling big time now.
Absolutely. Tell me what's going on.
Hey, man, I'm sorry about Friday. You know, when I teach Ignite class, which is what we use to teach new agents how to run our business, I always ask them, what is it that why are you getting into real estate? And they all talk about flexible scheduling. Well, Friday I missed you because I had a buyer call up and say, hey, we want to see this house at 4 o'clock. So guess where I was? I was showing the house at 4 o'clock. So I apologize for not jumping on. But I love it. Unfortunately, my buyers decided it was too soon for them. They're going to wait a little bit longer, and they're going to look more in the springtime. So the buyers are back out now. People are starting to look. Sellers are giving concessions. If you're looking to buy a home or a first-time home buyer, give me a call, 615-268-7996, or my office number is 615-890-895-8000. Sorry. I forget that number sometimes. I get it mixed up.
Yeah.
Everything going? Y'all have a good weekend?
Yeah, great weekend. Great weekend. And looking forward to a lot of fun stuff in Dallas. So, Richard, thanks for being with us. We'll do it again tomorrow.
All right, have fun in Dallas.
Billy, hit it. Welcome all of you back. As promised, we're headed down to Dallas, Texas, where Vanderbilt football coach Clark Lee joins us. Clark, thanks for taking the time.
It's great to be with you. My only complaint is that we should be doing this in Nashville again, I think.
Oh, absolutely. And when we do, your dad needs to be at our broadcast site.
Well, that may be where you and I have a little disagreement, George. I think he's he tends to hog the airtime when he's around. So I'm just kidding.
As I told him a year ago, pay no attention to Clark. You just sit with us.
That's good. I think he became familiar with all the national television and radio hosts as he made his way around as Clark Lee's dad, which was pretty special.
I love it. It reminds me.
In fact, George, we left for the day, and I remember, as we got back to campus, looking around, saying, "Hey, where's my dad?" And I called him, and he didn't call me back for another 3 hours or so, but he had still been on Radio Row, just making the rounds. So he got very familiarized with this process.
I love him. It reminds me so much of my dad back when I was getting started. So let me ask this question. As the season went on last year, and it obviously was not what you wanted, you kind of went through a little bit of an internal, okay, where are we? What are we doing right? What aren't we doing right? How do we get it to the level we want it? What do you think you learned out of that?
Well, obviously a lot. And, I'm going to talk about this today a ton. But, I have a belief that, we're here to be successful. And I have a belief that, challenge makes way for opportunity. And in those moments, you have to reflect and say, look, what is the reason for our shortcomings? What are the things that are holding us back? Because, as I do this, there are so many things that I feel like we're doing really well, and yet it didn't show up in the results for us. And so I think you can go back and trace that line to, 22, where we were able to finish with a couple of league wins and feel like we were gaining some momentum. Obviously, we didn't finish that year the way we wanted to, but the spirit coming out of that 22 season was we're going to double down on the things that got us to this progress in hopes that we just take that next step. And I think in reality, I didn't scrutinize quite deep enough some of the things, the underlying things that were going to hold us back from taking that step. And so, it's about a overhaul of how we train our team. It's about an overhaul of offensive and defensive systems. It's about full participation in the transfer portal and NIL, but not, feeling like we got to dig up the foundation of the program that we built, because there's a lot of things that we're doing, again, that are going to give way to success and progress on the field. So, you go through an examination, a deep dive into, with all these things. I mean, it's never easy, but again, I'm here to win. And I've got to confront the question, what does winning ask of me every day? And that's what I did in the offseason.
So being the football junkie that I am, I would watch a lot of Tuesday night games in October. And I kept seeing this kid, Diego Pavia, and I would talk about it on the air that none of you know who he is, but this guy can really play. Talk to me about the whole New Mexico State connection for your team, and how did this happen?
Well, I've always had a respect for Jerry Kill. and I've had the opportunity to compete against him once in my career. And it was right before he had to step away at Minnesota. We played him in a bowl game when I was at Syracuse. I happened to run into him the springtime heading into the 22 season, so his first year at New Mexico State, and it was my first chance really to get to meet him. And we exchanged contacts, but that was really it. I mean, you get so busy in these cycles, it's just hard to stay in touch. But I definitely was tracking his progress, and coming off the first year when they made a bowl game, so excited for him. And then, in this past season, they opened the year with a loss against UMass, and I remember being disappointed for him. But then to watch them just rally off win after win, and really culminating in a road win against Auburn, and that just happened to be the week after we had played Auburn at home, and really had a disappointing showing. And so I just set out and studied that game. I think I probably watched it in 1 week, 9 or 10 times from start to finish, all three phases. Just to look at what the anatomy of that kind of win is. And what I saw was a well-coached team that played together. They were tough. They were sound, solid, and simple on defense. Offensively, they did enough to keep the ball in play and to keep pressure on the other team. Diego Pavia throws an interception early in that game and suplexes the linebacker on the sideline. Like, you could just tell that there was a competitive spirit there. They were multiple on offense. They weren't gimmicky. And so my goal at that point was, we're going to take the staff out to Las Cruces and visit with Jerry and his team in the off season. And obviously, as the year progressed for us, and as I made decisions to change our staff, Tim Beck became a part of a process for me where I'm evaluating offensive coordinator candidates, and in every measure that I put him against, it seemed to make a lot of sense that the type of offense he runs, the type of coach he is a great fit for us at Vanderbilt. The idea that it became a package deal and Jerry came along, I think, is just such a great tip of fortune for us. And he's a guy that I lean on now, and he helps me with all our operational systems to make sure those are aligned and running the way we want them to run. And I can focus my attention on the defense and mentoring the defensive staff and ensuring that side of the ball is advancing the way it needs to advance. And he does the same for offense, and he's become a great teammate. So again, all good things. I could have never imagined, Jerry agreeing to become a part of this, but he was excited to do it, and I was excited to bring him on.
How do you maximize Diego Pavia with Nate Johnson?
Well, that's the question. I think the first thing we have to determine is who goes out and takes the first snap, and then we have to look at how do we get everyone that can help us win involved and touches on the ball. And Tim again has done that. I mean, if you look at the New Mexico State team, there were times where Eli Stowers was taking snaps. Eli, who's a tight end for us now, was a quarterback recruit out of high school that went to Texas A&M, and so. He's won with creative, outside the box thinking. Again, without offense becoming a gimmick. I mean, it's a tough physical approach, but also there's enough formation and motion that creates some window dressing that challenge the defense. And so it's fun for him to have the tools. The next month is going to determine how we put those tools together to best position our team against Virginia Tech.
Let me ask an NIL here because you know what's out there. When London Humphreys left, this is a kid that grew up here, who'd been a Vandy fan. It's a tough decision, and immediately people are saying, well, Vandy's just a feeder for other schools when they get somebody who's good enough. But it sounds like you've fought back. You've raised some money. Talk to me about the process of how you all are trying to skin this crazy cat.
Well, listen, that whole experience was a nightmare. And I think it's one of those things that as I accepted the job and I understood some of the shifts in landscapes, you constantly are concerned about the NIL and transfer portal becoming something that that is a disadvantage, certainly for us at Vanderbilt, is we're trying to transform so many aspects of this program that have held it back from being what I know it could be, a successful, sustained successful program at a great university in a great city. So, that hurt because, there's a developmental player that we identified that, that had a great start to his career that certainly we were looking to continue on that road of progress and have him do great things in black and gold. It also was a wake-up call. And I think when these things happen, again, there's nothing I can do about that once it's done, but I can certainly look at it and say, okay, what is this telling me about what we need to do? Because I came here to win. And what you realize really quickly is so long as you shift yourself to the next thing you need to do, one of the things that NIL and Transfer Portal allows you to do is to go out and patch those holes and to strengthen your team. And we did that. But as far as, how does Vanderbilt become competitive in this landscape? I think, I'm working hard with our administration to identify areas where, we need to shore up our process and we need to strengthen in terms of how we resource the team. And Candace Lee's been a great partner in that. And we're trying to not just grow a program, where one hasn't been, but also to do it in a totally new landscape where, we're going to need to ask more and more of our Vanderbilt community and all the people out there that care about what we're doing to best position this program to be competitive in the SEC. And again, I am so excited about what we were able to do in the wintertime and then again in the spring with the offense, the addition of players. None of that happens without resources. And the reality is once you get past the sting of some of the early setbacks, you realize what a great opportunity we have. But it is going to take people caring about what we're doing, and it is going to take resources. And I'm not a fundraiser, George. I might give you a call here at some point to see what you got for me, but I need to be focused on coaching the team. And I think that's what everybody wants. I'm leaning on our administration and leaning on Candace to help come up with a game plan to do this at a really high level.
Billy, if he can get the money from me, then that guarantees he's a hell of a fundraiser.
Coach, last thing here, defensively, this is your defense, taking it over. You talked about in the fall how excited you are and how much fun you're having. What are you most excited about within this defense, and especially some of the new pieces you guys brought in?
Well, this is what I love to do. And I think sometimes in all of the chaos right now, that can be lost. This is still about teaching. It's about developing people. These are things that I built passion for over a career. And the fact that I get to do them every day now is reinvigorating to me. Ultimately, I am developing a system that hopefully best suits our players. There are things that we looked at on the film and said, this isn't quite good enough. There's not enough variability. We're not contesting space the way we should. I didn't see a defense that was confident and playing with confidence. And when you see a defense click together, it's inspirational. I mean, it's a team game. You have to have 11 guys on the same page, everybody doing their job. A good coordinator understands the strengths and weaknesses of his unit and is able to put the pieces together in a way that spreads the hard down around, that protects the deficiencies, and that we can play aggressively through our strengths. And so that's kind of what we've set out to do. We've done a lot of evolving from winter to now. But I'm excited about where we are. We've added some playmakers. We've developed some playmakers. In our league, it's always going to start up front. So, to shore up our defensive line and to really feel like we're fundamentally and technically sound there. I think we've grown in that area. We both added a couple of pieces, but we've played a lot of young players here in the last couple of years that have grown into what I believe to be SEC caliber players. And on the perimeter, we've added some pieces at corner that are going to help us and build our depth out at that position. In the middle of our defense, I think, is strengthened through experience. So again, at this point, we haven't given up a yard or a point, Billy. So it's all good, but certainly something that I'm excited for. And look, for us to be good, it's about establishing a run on offense, the ability to score touchdowns in the red zone. Defensively, we got to be able to get the ball back. We have to create turnovers. and we have to get off the field. And if you look at our numbers from a year ago, it was not good with respect to our third down performance. We were able to generate turnovers, but we were giving the ball up too much on offense. And so, my focus on the defense is to strengthen, interconnected football and that we can play well in all three phases.
Clark, I appreciate you taking the time to join us. Thank you for doing that. But most importantly, tell your dad I said hello.
I will. I'm sure he's tuned in and watching. So, but I'll pass that along and look forward to seeing you guys back in Nashville.
Beautiful. That's Vanderbilt football coach Clark Lee joining us from SEC Media Days in Dallas. Stay tuned. We've got more coming up as you listen to the George Plaster Show on 95.9 FM. As you might be able to tell, my buddy Stan Harrison, he's an Alabama Crimson Tide fan, but he's actually here to talk about Apple Collision Centers.
Hello, Middle Tennessee. I'm Stan Harrison, CEO of Apple Collision Centers, and we understand the stress it causes in having an automobile accident. We can help you ease the stress of the auto body repair process at our 3 locations. We're conveniently located in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. We've got rental cars available, we have PDR technicians available, and we have windshield technicians available. Please stop by one of our places and see us if you need our services.
And by the way, when you come in his office, this just in, he's a sports fan.
You were in a crash.
Yeah.
Your kids were in the car with you.
We're very lucky to even be telling this story to you. Nikki treated us like family, and she was very caring and loving, and I'm just so grateful for that. She was somebody I could trust, and being a veteran, that's so important to me. My kids are going to have a better life now because I don't have to worry about those expenses that we were out. Your family has really created a legacy of trust, and I would recommend you to anyone.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances, and Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life, improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458 or visit the website coolspringsmd.com.
If you're having plumbing issues, there's only one guy to call. That's Adam Whitehead. As a third-generation plumber, Adam was born and raised right here in Bellevue. Customers praise his professionalism, efficiency, and personability. Adam is known for his prompt response to emergencies and for providing high-quality repairs at reasonable prices. His expertise extends to various plumbing issues, including sink leaks, dishwasher installations, and outdoor water issues. Call him at 615-485-1534. That's 615-485-1534.
Favorites running away to win by 3 to 4 touchdowns. Let them earn your business. Let the sportsbrokers.com show you how to win consistently. Call now and get today's underdog winner outright. 800-220-6262. Absolutely free. Kevin Todd is the nation's #1 sports handicapper. He's the professional the professionals turn to. It's yours absolutely free at 800-220-6262. That's 800-220-6262. Kevin Todd turns outcomes into incomes. Call now. 800-220-6262.
Okay, we are back at 5 o'clock or thereabouts. You'll hear from Commissioner Greg Sankey. The first 30 minutes of his address today is a complete waste of time, but when he gets to the Q&A, it does get a little more interesting. Kelly, here's some things that I want to talk about on the Vandy front after we heard from Clark Lee. And Billy, feel free to chime in on this. The first one is, I don't understand the scheduling of Virginia Tech. To me, that's just downright stupid.
Tough game to start off with, George. I'll be honest with you. You don't want to start off with a game like that, especially coming off the season that they had last year. You're trying to build some confidence, and I don't know how good Virginia Tech's going to be, but it's still a formidable opponent. So you just, as a scheduler, you just don't want to do that. But I mean, I don't know. It just seems like, they've got to be going in the right direction. They need some confidence. And, if they go out and they play well against Virginia Tech and they actually beat Virginia Tech, then your confidence is sky high. But, man, if you don't, it kind of puts you in the doldrums a little bit. So, that's a tough game to start off with, George. You're right.
I'll say this too, George. They're going to be more prepared this year, and it's easy to say that with how bad last year was. But Clark Lee taking over the defense, it's hard not to feel a lot better defensively. Offensively is still a question mark to me. You want to feel confident about Pavia and Johnson and Tim Beck, but that's all new. I mean, brand new. It can either go really well or that could go pretty poorly also. But I do think they're going to be more prepared. But offensively has always been the concern with them under Clark Lee. What are they going to be? Who's the quarterback? Who's under center? They just need some sure things on offense, and we'll see if they get them this year.
Kelly, I guess I've seen Diego Pavia enough at New Mexico State to say, look, that's a guy you can bank on. There are intangibles about him that are really good, at least at that position, which I think is so vitally important. That kid's pretty good.
George, it brought me back to my playing days a long time ago at middle when I threw a pick and I went over there acting like an idiot, and I hit the linebacker who intercepted my ball, and I flipped him, and it brought me back to the story when Clark Lee was talking about it. He hit somebody on their sideline. So the guy is a competitive guy. You talked about him last year, which was crazy to me, and you know what? I'm going to go ahead and say this. I think that you're going to see a remarkable difference in the Vanderbilt team of last year to the Vanderbilt team of this year. I will say that, because I think Jerry Killen is really good at what he does. He's been successful everywhere he's been, and that helps Clark Lee because he knows that he does not have to worry about the offense anymore. He can concentrate on the defense, which, like you said, he's taken over as the defensive coordinator. So I think this is a win-win, and I think you're going to see a very different Vanderbilt football team, because when you got a guy, as you're looking at him on the screen, people on the radio can't see it, but you're talking about the Pavia kid. When you got a kid that can walk in the huddle, he's determined like he is, he's savvy, he's played a lot of football, and he's competitive, and he's gritty. That's what you want, and that's a guy that you want at Vanderbilt, and I think it's going to be a lot different than we saw last year. I really do.
Here come the Vandy callers later in the show.
Yeah, well, maybe. The thing that I didn't get a year ago, they fell apart at UNLV. UNLV turned out to be a lot better than anybody knew. But from that point on, it was a ride on the Hindenburg. And Billy, I had no clue what Billy Lynch was trying to, Joey Lynch was trying to accomplish on offense. I can remember Willie Donick and I sitting and watching at the Missouri game going, what the hell's he doing?
Yeah, there was not a whole lot there. And that is the most important thing this year for Vanderbilt. You talked about Pavia, Kelly, but also having two guys that, say Pavia goes down, which feels like that could happen. I mean, at times, right? Good that he's a tough kid, but you're also 5'11", 190 in the SEC. If he goes down,
I agree.
You've still got Nate Johnson back there, who's a guy with speed like London Humphreys, like Vanderbilt doesn't usually see. So you've also got that. So, and Clark talked about it a lot too. They fell behind in the portal and NIL, and he knows that. And this offseason, is not an instant cure, but just having that and a different feel, right? A different feel from players. Maybe a player is making a little bit more this year that he wasn't last year. Maybe he's a little bit happier. And I think that can make a difference within morale, just the overall feel, because you bring some players in. Kelly, I don't know if you've been a part of this. You probably have. But, you bring in 5-6 new coaches. You bring in 25, 30 new players. Well, most of the players that were on the team last year are going to look at that and go, okay, this is new, and you have to do that after a 2-10 year. But that can be really encouraging for players who were maybe looking for something after last year.
Competition breeds success, Billy. And when you bring people in and you put these guys on notice saying what you did last year means nothing. You've got to go out on the you've got to go out on the football field and you've got to work every day. That's what my coaches used to tell me. I don't care what happened to you in the day. I don't care if your girlfriend broke up with you, your puppy dog died. When you come through these gates, it's work. And I really think that's what you listen to Clark Lee, man. He is very he knows what he wants. He's just got to get there. And I really believe when you become a head coach for the first time, you make a lot of mistakes. And he's fortunate enough that he's been able to stay at Vandy, enough time where I think he made some mistakes in the coaching aspect of it. And now he's starting to get it right. And now he figures out that, hey, these guys on the defensive side of the ball are not doing what I want. I'm the head coach. I'm just going to take it over. And he just said that. That's what I love. And then he's got a guy now in the offensive coordinator who's been around for a long time. He hasn't been at, great programs, but he's been successful at those programs. And I think that's what Vanderbilt needs. I really do. Now, I don't know if they're going to have a winning record this year. I really don't. But I think you're going to see some success that you didn't see last year. Now, with that being said, I don't know. Like you said, Billy, I know these Vanderbilt people are going to start calling. But I just think that he made some mistakes coaching-wise, and he's figured that out. And now let's go.
So let me ask both of you this question. As I look at their schedule, the Virginia Tech scheduling is a dumb mistake. They go to Georgia State in game 3, and I don't think there's another SEC school that would have agreed to go to Georgia State, but they have. In SEC play, when you look at their schedule, and I realize we would have said the same thing 2 years ago when they when they went to Kentucky and won at home against Florida. Where are the SEC wins coming from?
I mean, at Auburn, Kelly, you got to look at that and say they did it last year. New Mexico State did that, and Vanderbilt's offense is basically New Mexico State's offense now. I mean, I look at Auburn as a potential. It's later in the season. Auburn still, to me, has a lot to prove. But other than that, it is hard. I mean, at LSU, Tennessee at home, Alabama at home, Texas, that's tough. At Kentucky, potentially. Who knows what South Carolina is? I'd probably say Kelly, Auburn, and Carolina right now.
Man, I don't know, George. I'm looking at it like you talked about Georgia State. Georgia State's no rollover now. I went down there last year, and they're really talented now.
Right.
I'm sure they've had an overhaul on their roster, because that's what everybody's doing nowadays. They've got an overhaul on their roster, but they had some athletic guys. They got to go to Missouri. They got to play Alabama, which we know. They got to play Texas, which I didn't realize today when that guy stood up and spoke that. I know it was back in the 20s, but Vanderbilt has a winning record against Texas. It's 8-3-1, which kind of shocked me. And the guy was like, hey, it doesn't matter, because Clark Lee says it doesn't matter now. But he said it's still 8-3-1. So I don't know. It's Vanderbilt knows what they've gotten themselves into. The SEC is tough. It's only getting tougher. And, Clark Lee knows when he took the job, when he came back to take the job, he knew the problem that Vanderbilt had. So they may not have a lot of wins on that schedule, but I think you'll have a more competitive team than they had last year. I really do.
George, real quick, let me go there. He knew what he was getting himself into. Do you think there's any part of him, and again, we don't know what's going through a coach's head, but do you think there's any part of Clark that has gone, wow, this is a little bit more?
Billy, first of all, smartly, he has never really brought up the, wow, if I had stayed at Notre Dame, would I have gotten the job instead of Marcus Freeman? maybe he'll never know unless he picks up the phone and the AD at Notre Dame's nice enough to tell him. That's one thing. The second was NIL, because at the time he accepted it, that really wasn't all that well known. And as you chronicled at the beginning, while a Tennessee was loaded for bear and ready to roll in NIL, Vandy wasn't anywhere close. And so he got that little jolt. And then I think the third one was London Humphreys, because this is a kid, I know of him. He grew up here. He was always a Vandy fan.
His dad was the track coach.
Yeah, and I mean, look, there is no doubt that schools say to Vandy kids, look, come on over to us, okay? We're going to compete for whatever, SEC championship or national championship. But more than that, we'll pay you as much money, if not more, and you won't have to go through the misery. And you know as well as I do that's being said.
Oh, no doubt. We do have Stormy Mitchell here. Says they may be improved, but 3-9 is my prediction. The SEC is just too deep. Sorry to spoil the party.
Yeah, I'm not sure whose party it is. I am convinced that Kelly's right about one thing. They could be considerably improved, but who knows if it shows up in the record.
No, and I'm going to say right now, I don't know if it will show up in the record. That, like he just said, I mean, the SEC is way deep. I mean, Missouri's really good. Alabama's Alabama. Kentucky's going to be, good. You got Tennessee, who's, trying to rebound from, and they still had a successful season last year, but they're trying to. So I don't know where the wins come from. They've got to win the games that they're supposed to win. George, you talked about it last year. Nobody thought that UNLV, but you still got to beat UNLV. You're in the SEC. Doesn't matter how good they are. So that kind of put them on a downward spiral. And I don't know what they're going to end up last year or next year, this coming up season. I don't know that, but I think they will be improved.
Okay, we're going to go to the break. When we come back, we'll get stat of the day. Then we will go back to Dallas for Bily Jones's second SEC Football Media Day report. Then you'll hear from Commissioner Greg Sankey. We'll let you hear some of the Q&A. The first 30 minutes is a total waste of time, but the Q&A was pretty interesting. We'll take phone calls at 5:20. Thanks for being with us. We got plenty more coming. You're listening to 95.9 FM.
Good afternoon. We've had a time trying to clean up this wreck on 65 southbound here at Harding Place. Then we had one earlier before that one above it up there on Harding Place at I-65. Been rough in South Nashville this afternoon as traffic cranks up to the north on 65 up through Madison, trying to work your way up into Goodlettsville. It's building pretty good. 24 now out through Antioch towards Rutherford County. Hey, whether you need a new roof repair, or roof inspection, Independent Roofing Specialist has you covered. IRSroofs.com. I'm Commander Chuck. You're on time traffic.
Some days I cover up because of my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis. Now I'm hitting the road with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi, Rizumkizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieved 90% clearer skin at 4 months. And Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
All right, when it comes to getting life insurance for your family, a lot of excuses can get in the way, but ask yourself this: if something were to happen to me, who would pay the mortgage, the kids' education, and the other bills? Then forget the excuses and check out Ethos Life, the online easy way to get life insurance in 10 minutes. Ethos has rates that you can afford, like a $500,000 policy for a 40-year-old male starting at $1 a day or $30 a month, with a few health questions and no medical exam. Get your free quote right now at checkethos.com. That's checkethos.com. Not available in all states. Rates do vary.
Progressive presents good news, bad news, dumb news, then great news. Good news. While leaning over the fence, your neighbors said you could save money bundling home and auto insurance with Progressive. Bad news. Your neighbor leaned over a little too much and broke your fence. Dumb news. Somehow fence wood is more expensive than wood. Great news. You decide to see if you could save money bundling at Progressive.com and to plant really tall shrubs. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers not available in all states.
It's a Bill King Show.
We are college football centric. That is the sun that warms our planet that we live on. Our planet actually isn't flat or round. It's an oblong spheroid. And we are here to proselytize about it, edify it every day on this here radio show.
Weekday mornings beginning at 6 on Sports Radio 560 on 95.9 FM.
Final segment of the first hour, day one of SEC Media Days out in Dallas. We'll have another report from Bily Jones coming up here in just a moment. But first, stat of the day brought to you by Adam Whitehead Plumbing here in Nashville. If you ever have issues with your water heaters, bathrooms, kitchen sinks, water, or sewer lines, give Adam a call, 615-485-1534. All right, here we go. We're going a little baseball today. Paul Skeens is starting in the All-Star Game tomorrow night at 22 years old, making him the youngest All-Star Game starting pitcher since who?
Kelly, my first thought is Roger Clemens. Don't know that that's correct, but you tell me. What are you thinking?
Is he? Is it one of Danny Evans' guys?
It also, now that I think about it, could be Fernando Valenzuela.
Either. What about Hideo Nomo?
Seems like Nomo was later in getting over here.
Okay, maybe so. I don't know. That's just what I thought.
Yeah, I don't think it's.
It could be Fernando. I don't know.
Okay, let's pop it up there and see what we got.
Dwight Gooden.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll say this. You look at him from 84 to 86. He was ridiculously dominant. He was good. He had a big old 12-6 curveball to go with that heater. And also remember back then, guys weren't throwing as hard as they are now. They act like you ought to go on the welfare line now if you can't throw 95.
Seriously, it's amazing, George.
It's ridiculous.
Did he play with Strawberry?
Oh,
He did.
absolutely. Oh, yeah.
And Keith Hernandez, all those guys, they were loaded at that time, man.
And you talk about a bunch of party animals. That 86 team that won it all, not exactly the most solid citizens.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Strawberry's got is it 30 for 30 on him?
Yeah.
That was interesting.
He seems to have cleaned his act up considerably. Dwight Gooden was honored recently, I want to say by the Mets, because he also threw a no-hitter with the Yankees. So anyway, a lot of different stuff going on. Am I supposed to hear Van Halen's Jump at the moment? Yeah,
there it is.
There we go. Beautiful. Hour number one's in the books. We'll come back and go back to Dallas and get report number 2 from Bily Jones. Thanks for being with us.
On air and online, Sports Radio WNS. This is a special report from ABC News, the Republican National Convention. I'm Daria Albinger. Ohio Senator J.D. Vance makes his first appearance as the party's vice presidential nominee to cheers and applause, but some are worried about his inexperience.
39-year-old J.D. Vance has held elective office for only 2 years, and some here at the GOP convention think that's a problem. Chris Fussner says the Democrats chose an underqualified vice presidential candidate in 2020.
Their number two cannot take over. We are doing the same mistake by putting an inexperienced person in on number two.
But others who had been mentioned as possible Trump running mates, including North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum and Florida Senator Marco Rubio, have offered full-throated support for Vance. Jim Ryan, ABC News at the GOP convention in Milwaukee.
The economy is going to be the main focus of tonight's session, which is called Make America Wealthy Once Again. This is ABC News.
Summer is heating up, just like the deals at Omaha Steaks. From perfectly aged steaks to juicy burgers, Omaha Steaks is your summer grilling headquarters. Shop the Hotter Than Fire sale at omahasteaks.com for exclusive unconditional money-back guaranteed packages starting at $99. Plus, get an extra $10 off with promo code QUALITY at checkout. Visit omahasteaks.com, code QUALITY for an extra $10 off. Shop the Hotter Than Fire sale today before these deals go up in smoke.
Omaha Steaks, America's original butcher.
Offer not valid in all states or where prohibited by law. Loans are subject to lender approval. See website for details.
Honey, the credit card bill came, and we're maxed out.
Maxed out cards, rent is due. We just need some extra cash to help us get by.
Maybe we should go to 27cash.com.
With our bad credit?
27cash.com is one of the largest personal loan networks. They can help people with any type of credit get up to $5,000, and cash can hit our bank account as soon as tomorrow.
When you need extra cash, go to 27cash.com. That's 27cash.com. 27cash.com.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-617-0239. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. There is zero risk to you. If we can't reduce your tax debt, then you pay nothing. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have a 5-star rating on Google and Yelp and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-617-0239. That's 800-617-0239. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
WNSR, Nashville Sports Radio. From the Nashville Sports Radio Media Complex. Welcome back to the George Plaster Show. Call George now at 615-844-5600 and online at WNSR.com. And now, George Plaster.
Featuring Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer Watson Brown, Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer Kelly Holcomb, along with Gun Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
And we welcome all of you into the 5 o'clock hour. Thanks for being with us. A lot of things going on. Bily Jones from our staff is down in Dallas at SEC Media Days. We're going to find out what's going on and what's been going on today. Ole Miss, LSU, Vandy, South Carolina. Those are the 4 teams that have gone to the podium. Billy, what do you got for us?
Yeah, George, obviously, very conflicting tones when you look at teams like Ole Miss and LSU that, were maybe just a defense away from a championship last year. And then obviously on the other side, Vanderbilt and South Carolina, 2 teams that had hugely disappointing seasons off the back of seasons that in 22 kind of finished the right way and had people think they were building to more. But, if you're a Vandy or South Carolina fan, I think you like what your coach has said. They've both been very proactive about saying things need to change. Clark Lee said earlier today on the big podium, I approached every decision this offseason looking to answer 2 important questions. What am I meant to learn from this adversity, and how can we use it as an inflection shun point and a catalyst to our future success? look over to the South Carolina side, and Shane Beamer used a little inspiration from Mike Tomlin when he talked about that, the world has two buckets, and he said you can't have your feet in both buckets, one being the comfort bucket and the other being the growth bucket. So, both of these head coaches admitting that things need to change in the program. And then on the other side, Lane Kiffin was very forthright about calling NIL what it was. And he used the word free agency over and over and over again. And he kept kind of talking about rat poison, that, you hear about all these teams that assemble all these great players, but it doesn't mean anything if the team culture doesn't really come together. And then for Brian Kelly, talking about, Harold Perkins, looks like they're going to try him again at inside linebacker with new defensive coordinator Blake Baker, who came over from Missouri, had enormous success turning around what was kind of a dumpster fire of a defense out in Columbia in 2022. We'll see if he can do the same thing at LSU this upcoming season.
Yeah, to me, excuse me, that's the question with LSU. Is a year ago, way too many points at Ole Miss. Missouri hit them for about 100.
Yeah.
So how do they get better?
Yeah, well, you wonder on the back end. It's a lot of the same guys, and you just hope they can tape leaks forward. J.K. Johnson was a kid who was a 4-star from Ohio State, a guy that played a lot as a freshman, and he got hurt right before the season for LSU, so that was a big loss. The biggest thing was there were just a lot of missed assignments, and Blake Baker's a guy who, I thought at Missouri did a really good job with that 22 unit that the year before was in, triple digits in most categories, in the 100s in almost every statistical category. And what he does a good job of is he plays it pretty basic on first and second down. Rally to the football, trust your eyes and go make big plays. And then on third down, that's where we'll throw some fun looks at you. That's when we really mix things up from a blitz perspective, shows a lot of funky looks to offensive lines. So I think that's an important step for LSU is, they're not going to coach better than the players that they have. I think, we've seen that, for example, with Brent Venables and his Oklahoma team a couple years ago. I think you have to be smart about knowing what you have. And I think Blake Baker's shown that, he can do that. He can play base for most of the game and then, mix up the looks when he needs to. I think he's going to do a great job with that defense. And, I'm excited to see what they do, especially because on offense, that line's going to be great. Bring back some really talented receivers from last year. And then Garrett Nussmeier is a guy that's just kind of been incubating. And it feels like this is the year where he can really take that next step. We'll see.
Billy, how many media are down there?
There's a lot. I mean, the grand ballroom is chock full of probably about 200, 300 writers. And then, Radio Row's got almost 40, assorted stations, podcasts, TV networks, whatever here. So, it's crowded because, I think this is one of the most anticipated college football seasons we've seen in a long time. Of course, sort of winding down today. We've already seen one station's taken out the new NCAA college football video game. So we've got some people enjoying that as day one sort of wrapping up here, but should be an exciting week because, I think this is one of the most anticipated seasons we've seen in a while just because of all the changes.
Okay, go have some fun with the game. We'll check back in with you around 5:50 right at the end of the show.
Sounds good. I'll see you then, George.
Bily Jones reporting live from SEC Football Media Days at the Omni in downtown Dallas. Earlier this morning, Greg Sankey had his State of the Union. The first 30 minutes was a complete waste of time. Put it under the category of how great thou art. It was just a lot of telling us how the SEC has saved the world. He felt like he was, I don't know if he's running for office. He read a prepared script, and I was like, really? But whatever.
It doesn't need to be that long. I mean, do you need a 30-minute intro? Like, let's make it at least 15.
Okay, so I asked you to come up with 10 minutes of important stuff, and I'm guessing it's all in the Q&A.
Yeah, Q&A. It's probably three main points he brought. He brought up the moving the media days to Dallas, what that means, and he brought up an interesting point that I think people are going to want to hear. Also, the tiebreaker rules for the SEC. Billy brought this up before the show today. there's no divisions now. So what are the tie-breaking rules at the end of the season for, whether it's playoff discussions or SEC title game or, what have you? Talked about that as well. Also, the litigation. If I hear litigation again, he got into that with the NCAA. So take a listen. Some pretty interesting stuff from the commissioner.
Expand on why we're in Dallas today and what makes the communities along the I-35 corridor from Austin to Norman a cultural fit for the SEC.
A few things. One, we actually made an effort to move here in 2018 with Media Days, thought that Dallas might be the right first place. We have an incredible alumni population in the Metroplex, and we did some research on that back to 2018. I didn't have to go back and conduct that research. Again, it's one of the most accessible cities in the country. The variety of ways you can travel here allows you to run a 15K in Utica, New York, and be here for dinner by the end of a Sunday, like I did yesterday. Our move in 2018 was a recognition that we had moved west with Missouri and Texas A&M, with the border states in Arkansas and Louisiana with LSU. Made it sense not just to be at one. If we're going to be at more than one location, how do you touch the perimeters? We had a basketball tournament in St. Louis, Missouri, back in 2018, if I have my dates right, and so we were used to that movement. We've had 3 years to prepare for expansion, which is, I think, a record long time. And as we went through the expansion, that made Western events more and more important for us. And we pretty quickly decided to move Media Days. We looked at Houston, looked at Dallas, were the two that were our biggest focus. Here, the transition from Norman to Columbia, Missouri, Fayetteville, Arkansas, College Station, Austin, Texas, that movement's really easy. And we are a big part of Texas. Texas is a big part of us now. I've always seen coaches traveling here during my own travel. We've had a bowl game affiliation here for a long, long time, and all of those relationships combined to make it the right move for us. And I encourage you to have fun fitting that into a small soundbite.
I know there's been probably a lot more important things with college athletics, but I was curious if there's a plan for an SEC tiebreaker system now that there's no divisions to be able to settle an SEC championship.
Yes, in fact, we had our athletics directors on a video conference Thursday where we provided an update. It is a lengthy plan, consolidated around, I think, 8 principles. We go back to our athletics directors at their next video conference. It's about 2 weeks away. We can finalize that anytime between now and the start of the season. We have an annual in-person meeting where any of the little pieces that have been identified for review can be refined and finalized. So absolutely.
The House settlement as proposed for the next 10 years limits some legal liability. But USA Today recently reported in the last 10 years, the NCAA has incurred $433 million in legal expenses alone. Anybody can sue anybody for anything, but how do you lower the temperature on that?
Part of the current settlement effort is to resolve, to the extent we can resolve as much as possible, to do just that. We're not alone in college athletics at being pursued from a litigation front. You saw what happened in the NFL's Sunday ticket decision. You look at Major League Soccer, just doing research on Law 360. You can see the existing open lawsuits there. We clearly have had to think differently, and you can see that happening as decisions are made on policy. An element of the question is how much authority can be managed at a national level through the NCAA. That's clearly what's under full scrutiny. What can be managed at the conference level? If it's less nationally, how do you actually have Final Fours in college football playoffs if everybody's to have a different set of rules? I also would observe that when you look at litigation that exists at the professional level, it's not an indication that that model solves all litigation threats. The simple observation is we live in a litigious society, and we have to continue to make wise decisions informed by legal counsel and be prepared to defend those decisions that are made. Lastly, we're dealing with historic change, And again, people have written over time they should have changed sooner. The reality is, whether you take that opinion or not, the change is happening now.
Hold up a little.
Yeah, I think I got it. So the question is, how closely do I monitor what's happening in the ACC?
Yes.
And then what are the implications? I pay attention. As I said, we're focused on our 16. I've said before at media days, I'm not a recruiter. My job is to make sure we meet the standard of excellence that we have for ourselves on a daily basis. That attracts interest. It's done that with the 2 universities that we've added this year. They're not the only phone calls I've ever had, but I'm not involved in recruitment. Our presidents have been clear that I am not going to entangle us in litigation around expansion. And so I pay attention, but I'm not engaged in those conversations. In fact, as I understand, the issue is agreements have been signed and decisions have been made among a conference, and the question is, are those going to be honored as they were established? And apparently that's for a court to decide now. The broader implications, obviously, if things change, then there's a new level of uncertainty. It already creates speculation that I think is counterproductive, but I don't spend an enormous amount of my time thinking about it. I certainly don't spend any time engaged in that recruiting activity because we're focused on our 16, and I want to be respectful of the difficulty that's currently faced with that issue, that set of issues within the ACC, and my colleague, Jim Phillips.
The regionality of the SEC and the name still meaning something to this conference. Can you ever see a college sports landscape in which you would feel like branching out of the southeastern part of the United States with your conference membership would be beneficial?
We're focused on our 16, period. You've seen how we've made decisions over the last decade plus for contiguous states to join. I think that's incredibly wise. And provides remarkable strength. And I'm not going to guess about what happens next.
Follow up to that, Greg, I think you said 16 is our today and 16 is our tomorrow in your opening remarks. And I just wanted to clarify, tomorrow, does that just simply mean tomorrow, or is that a long-term future tomorrow?
So the last 3 questions are part of the reality, which is I've responded now 3 times where our focus lies. Our focus is on our 16 members. I have a responsibility to pay attention, and I'm certainly not going to fuel speculation on what happens next. We can certainly remain at 16 for a long, long time and be incredibly successful.
Okay, we'll go right in front of you to the right, right in front of the front near aisle.
Yes, Commissioner Sankey, this is Drew DeArmond, WZZN Radio, Huntsville, Alabama. You worked with him throughout your entire career as commissioner on the other side of the headset with Coach Nick Saban. But what can he do to help our league continue to grow and navigate the ever-changing world of NIL and the transfer portal now as a member of the media and a voice of college football?
What can Nick do? Well, help us avoid rat poison would be the first on the list. He and I spoke, it was a couple days after the announcement of his retirement, and I think one of Nick's observations, I think it's fine to share, is the ability to be influential in a different role outside of coaching. He and I probably dealt with, well, you're doing this because Nick thinks it's competitively favorable. One of the things I found over time is Nick, in many ways, uniquely thought ahead on issues. Provided really deep and clear insight. And he and I have had any number of conversations over, this is my 10th year as commissioner, but I've been in the SEC for 23 years, and but for the 2 years he was with the Dolphins, we're in conversation throughout those couple of decades. So I think he can bring that clarity. I think he can bring an understanding that even I don't have dealing with these issues on the front lines as a head football coach, and I know he brings a love of the game overall to an analysis. And so I have seen him engage in conversations already in a big picture problem-solving way, and I hope that will continue. And he can evaluate my performance, since he's sitting in the room listening, my performance in answering that question.
Okay, we're focused on our 16. That seems to be the theme of the day. I want each of these 4 days that this goes on to try to take some phone calls because, after all, we are a call-in show. So I'm looking for 3 red-blooded, probably SEC fans, to dial us up at 615-844-5600. Again, 615-844-5600. I ask you to hit those phones now as you're listening to the George Plaster Show on 95.9 FM.
It was the most horrible experience that any mother could ever go through. I knew that I needed to get help. My friend, she immediately said, "You need to call Bart Durham." And you guys were there within an hour. You guys are like family for us.
Yeah, sure is nice to connect with the people that you're doing your best to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from, and for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5688.
Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
George.
Hello there. Okay, we welcome all of you back. We later in the show, you'll hear from Vanderbilt linebacker Langston Patterson. Tomorrow, Tennessee will be front and center stage, and you'll hear from Coach Heupel, as well as a player or two who will be in Dallas. In the meantime, let's take a few phone calls, and I think, Billy, am I right? We still got 2 lines open?
Yep.
Okay, I'm looking for 2 more red-blooded Americans who have something they want to get into, probably about SEC Media Days or what you're hearing. 615-844-5600. That is our number. Jump on in. Let's go all the way up to Boston. George, are you there?
George, hey Kelly, hey Billy, how's it going?
How's it going, George?
Good.
I'm doing well. So I've got a couple of questions for you guys. The first, in Vandy's quarterback room this year, they've got two quarterbacks fighting for the starting job, both of whom have won against SEC schools. Nate Johnson against Florida, Diego Pavia against Auburn. What can Vandy's coaching staff do to avoid a split locker room if one of them doesn't get the job and the tough schedule where both of these guys are likely going to play this year?
Kelly, I think that's a great question because it's one of the positions where they appear to have a little bit of an overload. Do they try to get Johnson's athleticism to another position? What do you do?
George, I'm not sure. I mean, in today's world, like when we were growing up and when I was competing, I mean, one guy won the job and the other guy, hey, you're just there and you've got to be ready. You don't cry over spilled milk. Don't pout. You got to be ready because you never know what's going to happen. The SEC is football in general is it's a contact sport. People are going to get hurt. You're going to get injured. So it's got to be the next guy up. But in this day of transfer portal, George, if you don't win the job, the other guy gets upset. Now he's going to, there's a fine line you got to balance there. And I'm glad I don't have to deal with it, but you got two guys that have played football that are capable of doing it. And, I think the Pavia kid is a quarterback. You look at my son, he's a quarterback. But then you look at Nate Johnson with his skill level. You may be right, George. If he doesn't win the starting job, he can do some other things. I mean, he could be maybe a Cordell Stewart back in the day, the slash guy who went, he was a quarterback at Colorado, went to Pittsburgh, played receiver, and then he wanted to play quarterback, and he got in and played quarterback. So I don't know. It's a fine line that you've got to deal with guys nowadays. But you just hope that there's a competition there, and whoever doesn't win it, doesn't bellyache and helps the other guy because he may be playing later on. So I don't know how you balance that. That's a tough deal in today's sports, but as coaches, you have to do it.
Billy, am I right that they paid Nate Johnson something in the neighborhood of $750,000, had no idea that Pavia might be coming in this whole New Mexico State thing? Is that accurate?
Yeah. That Nate Johnson was the guy. He was the prized quarterback, prospect, the commit that they were looking for out of the portal. They got him early from Utah because he was upset that Cam Rising came back. Utah had told him that he was going to be the guy after Rising, but Rising comes back for his 7th year, and Johnson looks to transfer. So he goes to Vanderbilt, and this is a really good question from George because what's going inside Nate Johnson's head right now? You get Diego Pavia late. I think he was a summer enrollee, and all of a sudden you're starting to rethink, okay, what do they think about me? And that is a good question. As a coach, how do you handle that? I think what Kelly said is a good point, but also making sure Nate knows he does have a role. Like you said, Kelly, like what is it, Cordell Stewart? Is that his name?
Absolutely. Slash, yep.
Yeah. Maybe he's their slash where, it's 3rd and 4 and you say, hey, keep this read option, or in the red zone, there's going to be some packages that Vanderbilt is rarely a school, George. You've seen that where they stick with one quarterback. And what's the last time they stuck with one quarterback for a season? It's probably Shermer. But, they get hurt. It's It's hard to have good offensive lines and protect your guy. So I would just tell him, hey, you're going to play still. You may not be under center this game, but you're going to get some time. Whether you are a fan of it or not. But it's still a good question because, like you said, George, Nate Johnson was originally the guy, and to now have a veteran, Diego Pavia, who's played a lot of football, has won some games, that increases that battle. So maybe it's good, but last year it was sort of a disaster. You saw Swan struggle, concussions. You saw Ken Seals go in, and then even a third guy in Walter Taylor. So the messaging at the quarterback position has to be better, and it should be with Tim Beck and Jerry Kill leading the charge. After last year, that had to change.
George, that's a great first question. What's the next one?
So you guys are having Tony Basilio on tomorrow. I'm curious as to what you guys think about this, and Tony as well. Why do UT fans mostly neglect T. Martin? He obviously wasn't good as Manning, but he still led UT to a national title. He actually beat Spurrier. He took care of the football pretty well, and he broke a record for consecutive completions in a game and over multiple games. Personally, I just think UT fans are stupid Jets fans who can't celebrate their own Joe Namath, but was wondering what you guys think.
Well, let me ask you this, George. When you say that they've ignored him, are you saying as far as hiring him? What exactly are you going with there?
In terms of just celebrating the national championship team from 1998, it just seems like he's mostly missing. I know that there's a statue outside of Neyland Stadium for him, but it just feels like it's one of the neglected statues in the great state of Tennessee. Nobody really seems to go to it or take pictures by it. And I just think that's weird because it's the most important position in football, but yet people seem to forget that he was on this historic team.
I'll admit I've never thought of it that way. Kelly, you got anything to add?
Man, I've never thought of it that way. I know I don't have a statue, so I mean, they obviously think something of him. They've got a statue of him, but I think George is right. When you win a national championship, of course, when you think about Tennessee football, what do you think about? You think about Peyton Manning and what he did there in his 4 years, and he couldn't get it done. But T. Martin comes in the next year and wins a national championship. So I don't know. I'm not involved in the UT circles. I've never been a UT guy. Obviously playing at middle. I don't know, but if you got a statue, somebody's thinking about you.
Yeah, and T. Martin didn't go on to have an NFL career quite like Peyton Manning either.
There's good college players sometimes that it doesn't translate well in the National Football League, and then you got some guys like myself come from a small school that play for a long time, so you just never really know. But he had some skill sets for college, but it just didn't translate. But he was a good player in college, and he had guys around him. I mean, he had some of the guys that Peyton had that taught, and I'm sure they brought him up, and he played well that year. So you can't take anything away from him.
George, good stuff. Thank you for the call.
Of course. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Thanks, George.
Okay. Both of you, give me a little bit of reaction to Sankey and the Q&A, which was by far the most interesting part of his morning.
Yeah, I mean, the 16-team thing, they're expanding. I mean, I think we all know the SEC is going to add, and they also, he was asked about Florida State, Clemson, Miami. There's going to be an ACC team or two added here, and we talked about that in the update with Billy. But you can tell he was upset about the 3 straight questions about that, and that kind of tells me that it's on his mind and that it might even be happening sooner rather than later. It's just who are the teams? And I almost wish somebody would have asked again, like dig a little bit deeper into the ACC. Is there what are your real thoughts on potentially adding an ACC team? He didn't want to talk about it. But that kind of tells me it's on his mind and that it's likely going to happen.
But okay, let me ask y'all this though: if the teams, what teams would you take out of the ACC if you were bringing teams to the SEC? Obviously, Florida State, Clemson. But is there any other teams? Maybe North Carolina, maybe Miami. Is that the teams? Like, I don't think you're looking at an NC State or a Wake Forest. Like, that's a no-go for the SEC. That's just me personally. What do you guys think?
I think you gave the order, whether it's Clemson, Florida State, or Florida State, Clemson, North Carolina third. And look, I get what he was trying to do, which was to say, I am not going to get in the middle of litigation because the ACC stuff has some potential litigation. That said, if he's pissed off about the questions, then don't have one of these how great thou art meetings. Don't speak. I mean, if you don't like, those are fair questions. What the hell did he expect?
Yeah, he didn't really answer much of anything. I mean, the tiebreaker, whatever, that was. But even the litigation, what's the future? I mean, I don't think he really gave fans much to look forward to, and maybe he doesn't have an answer there. Maybe maybe he was being honest there. I favor that. No one knows the answer there, but Sankey is Sankey. He's going to beat around the bush a little bit, and you have to you got to cipher out what he's actually thinking, because it's rare for him to really speak his mind, I feel like.
Kelly, he's got the easy out on the ACC litigation thing, but I about fell out of the chair when he said, "I'm not a recruiter." Really? So Oklahoma and Texas, how did that happen?
Yeah, I don't know, George. I will say this, though. It seems like the SEC is kind of holding a standard of staying in this part of the country where the Big Ten is just sold out to getting everybody. I mean, they're going out and they're trying to get everybody. Pac-12, Big 12, it doesn't matter. We're going to take you if you can help us. The SEC seems like they want to stay in a centralized location. They went out and they got Missouri, which I didn't understand that a long time ago. Obviously, that was a strategic move by those guys, but they got Missouri, they brought Texas A&M. Now they got Texas and Oklahoma. But the expansion that I see from them, if it opens back up again, which I don't know, who knows? I think we're all going into uncharted territory where nobody really knows. But if they do, I think those 4 schools that you're thinking about that we just talked about are the ones that are probably going to be rumored to be coming to the SEC. But I don't, I'm like him, though. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows if that's going to happen?
Yeah.
Let me ask it this way. He says 16. Okay. What if, and this probably isn't happening, but if you were the SEC and you were forced with taking 2 teams out, and again, might be irrational, but you take 2 teams out, you add 2 teams. Who would be those 2 SEC teams that you say, kick rocks, these 2 come in?
I don't think that's where this is headed.
I know.
I know where you're trying to make me go.
Yes.
And maybe that happens someday.
It's still July.
Yeah, but here's the deal, though, Billy. Like, they're never going to allow Nashville to get at, like, it's a central hub, man. Like, Vanderbilt may be Vanderbilt, but it's a central hub. They have the SEC tournament. Like, it's too big of a city for the SEC, in my opinion. I mean, you look at the Starkville, you look at the Oxford, you look at Gainesville. Like, there's no Nashville,
Yeah, and I wasn't pointing necessarily at Vanderbilt, but I've heard this discussion and people bring up, get Missouri out.
Were you pointing at Murray State?
Who are you pointing at, Billy? You little punk!
I've just heard this before, and people and people bring up Missouri, and Sankey brought that up. Why was Missouri a team that brought in? I know the TV networks and new TVs reached, but going back, I don't think the SEC would have added, because Missouri. I know Missouri. They won those 2. They won the East. I know the East was down, and I hope Billy too isn't listening right now. He probably is, but I've just heard Missouri flown out, and even A&M. Like, what if this was 5-6 years earlier, and it was Texas OU before anybody else even thought of it?
Stop.
I mean,
not because you need to stop, but I've got to go to a break, and after the break, you'll hear from Vanderbilt linebacker Langston Patterson. So stick around. You're listening to the George Plaster Show on 95.9 FM. As you might be able to tell, my buddy Stan Harrison, he's an Alabama Crimson Tide fan, but he's actually here to talk about Apple Collision Centers.
Hello, Middle Tennessee. I'm Stan Harrison, CEO of Apple Collision Centers, and we understand the stress it causes in having an automobile accident. We can help you ease the stress of the auto body repair process at our 3 locations. We're conveniently located in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. We've got rental cars available, we have PDR technicians available, and we have windshield technicians available. Please stop by one of our places and see us if you need our services.
And by the way, when you come in his office, this just in, he's a sports fan.
You were in a crash.
Yeah.
Your kids were in the car with you.
We're very lucky to even be telling this story to you. Nikki treated us like family, and she was very caring and loving, and I'm just so grateful for that. She was somebody I could trust, and being a veteran, that's so important to me. My kids are going to have a better life now because I don't have to worry about those expenses that we were out. Your family has really created a legacy of trust, and I would recommend you to anyone.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
You know, starting to save for your future doesn't have to be difficult. Let Wilson Bank and Trust help tone up your financial goals this year. Our certificates of deposits or CDs can help your money work harder with our competitive rates, earning you more than ever before. WBT checking options allow you to earn rewards you can really use, like a high interest rate or cash back on check card purchases when you meet some e-banking qualifications. Visit your closest Wilson Bank and Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC.
Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances, and Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life, improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458 or visit the website coolspringsmd.com.
If you're having plumbing issues, there's only one guy to call. That's Adam Whitehead. As a third-generation plumber, Adam was born and raised right here in Bellevue. Customers praise his professionalism, efficiency, and personability. Adam is known for his prompt response to emergencies and for providing high-quality repairs at reasonable prices. His expertise extends to various plumbing issues, including sink leaks, dishwasher installations, and outdoor water issues. Call him at 615-485-1534. That's 615-485-1534.
To win by 3 to 4 touchdowns. Let him earn your business. Let thesportsbrokers.com show you how to win consistently. Call now and get today's underdog winner outright. 800-220-6262. Absolutely free. Kevin Todd is the nation's #1 sports handicapper. He's the professional the professionals turn to. It's yours absolutely free at 800-220-6262. That's 800-220-6262. Kevin Todd turns outcomes into incomes. Call now. 800-220-6262.
Welcome all of you back, and as we promised earlier, we're headed back to Dallas, Texas, and the best dressed in this picture is obviously not me. It's Vanderbilt linebacker Langston Patterson, who joins us. Langston, thank you for taking the time to be with us.
Yeah, thank you so much. And the best dress only goes to the tie. If you had a tie on, I'm sure you'd match it.
A nice PR deal there. So let me start with what people would love to talk about, and that's all this NIL stuff. I have no doubt that as good a football player as you've been at Vandy, that you had offers a year ago to go elsewhere. Why did you decide to stay?
Yeah, I knew I'd probably be getting this question, sometime today. But really it was just I had to, after the season, 2-10 super hard. And I bet you I've never lost like 10 football games in my life just before coming to college. And so that was something that was super hard for me. So just taking a step back and, just analyzing the season, how things went, how I did. And for, some of the top schools in the program to be knocking at your door. I never really talk to him, but there was a bunch of people in my corner who were looking out for me and on my side through that time. But for some of those top schools to come knocking at your door and hearing about those things, it's something that certainly, intriguing and everything. But all in all, Vanderbilt's where I want to be. Vanderbilt's my home. I'm fully bought in here. And I'm, just taking it one day at a time and putting my head down and working 100% and controlling the things I can control. I believe in Coach Lee and his mission and the people he's brought in to achieve that mission. And to really, ultimately, I want to turn this thing around, turn Vanderbilt around, and just to be the school I know it can be and to win games in the SEC.
Let me ask the obvious. How cool is it to play with your brother?
Yeah, I thought I'd probably get this one too, but it was honestly one of the coolest experiences of my life just to see you call like the people you play with your brothers because, y'all do really tough stuff together and it bonds you like super close. But to play with your actual brother, someone who means more to me than anyone on this world and someone that's going to have my back no matter what I'm going through, the ups and downs in life. Just to be able to look to my left and my right and, see him on the field, him celebrate with me after the play, us two just talking through. Oh, shoot. It says phone's on 20%. But us talking through the plays and what we think's going to come this play. And, I was pulling for him as much as he was pulling for me. He's my biggest, not cheerleader, but person cheering me on, I guess. But, just being able to make a sack and him celebrate with me or him make a tackle for loss or a fumble and me just celebrating with him, it was honestly, I'd trade nothing for that. It was really big for both of us and just something that we wouldn't trade. And honestly, the best experience of my life.
A year ago, there was a ton of excitement around you guys after having beaten Kentucky and Florida in back-to-back weeks. Number one, why didn't it carry over? And number two, what about this year, in your opinion, is going to be different and different for the better?
Yeah. First off, let me just answer that by saying like this year's completely different. Got a whole new offensive staff, a lot of new transfers. I'm sure you've heard, but probably 30, 40 plus transfers in. Guys we trust, guys that Coach Lee and Barton Simmons just analyzed throughout the country and brought the best of the best in. Guys with great attitudes, great for our Vanderbilt culture, and just great for growing a program, both for the culture and just because they're super good all around the field. You see upgraded at each position. You see us getting a year better, and you see Coach Lee kind of step into that defensive coordinator role, and that's going to be huge for us because he was a top 3 defensive coordinator when he was at Notre Dame. And you won't see that change this year. Just as he's gotten in, so much has been tightened down in the details, and we're super excited for what we have this year. And to answer just like the rolling over part, the SEC is the best conference in the world. It's one of my Bryce Cowan said it's the mini NFL. So you see all around, you see the best guys of the SEC automatically make the transfer and do well in the NFL. And that's why you want to play here, but it also comes with many challenges. It's hard to win games in the SEC, and if you don't show up and take care of business, the other team is. So for us, it's just about tightening down the things that we can control and not worrying about one another, and when not worrying about like what we can't control, and stopping the snowball effect, because that's what happened last year. Once one game went wrong or one thing went wrong, we kept just going down the wrong path, and there wasn't anything to turn that back around. But this year we have all that it takes to be there in those tight games and compete to win every game.
One of those players that you've added, I watched a lot a year ago. Conference USA had a Tuesday night package, and I kept saying on the air, I don't know who Diego Pavia is, but he's pretty damn good. And I couldn't put my finger on it other than to say there's an intangible about this young guy that's really good. Now, as a defensive player, you've watched him. What is the it factor about him?
You said it. It's the it factor. It's a determination that this guy won't lose. He just has – you only find it in a certain amount of people. You look around at Vanderbilt, I feel like I'm one of those people. CJ Taylor's one of those people. Diego's one of those people that we're always competing in everything we do. You walk around the hallway and you'll see me and CJ, people like we'll turn anything into a competition. People are throwing up popcorn and we're trying to catch it in our mouth just because we hate to lose at anything. And he has that too. Whether it's playing a game of pig, whether it's playing cornhole, he's one of those guys that just won't lose and hates to lose and will do anything that it takes to win. And he's bringing that into the Vanderbilt culture and into the locker room. And you just see him kind of be very influential on that offensive side of the ball and just bring that mentality of we will not lose and we will get this yard or we'll complete this pass. And it's something that's cool to see.
Billy, what do you got for Langston?
Langston, good to talk to you. Tell me about how your role has changed heading into this year. Obviously came in as a freshman, played a lot of special teams, kickoff coverage, right? Morphed into more playing time last year. But would you say you're a leader on this defense? And also tell me about some of the other linebackers in your room that you're also excited to play with.
Yeah, as a linebacker, I would say I am the leader of this defense. I'm the quarterback of the defense, leading every snap, play in, play out, all the play calls, making sure everyone's lined up. And I'm also, me and CJ are probably the two guys with the most experience just coming back and playing in those big games. That's something that's huge for me this season and just our defense in general and just being an extension of our defensive coordinator, Coach Lee, on the field. And that's just going to help us out a lot. And we also got a very, very good linebacker room. You got Nick Rinaldi, Brian Longwell, Prince Cully, Bryce Cowan, all guys who have stepped up huge in the spring and set themselves up for success this season. And I'm super excited to watch all those guys and just play with all those guys.
Langston, appreciate your taking the time to come on here. Best of luck to you in the season. CPA needs to take it easy on BGA.
Yes, sir. I'll put in a good word.
You do that. Hey, thanks for coming on with us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
It's Vanderbilt linebacker Langston Patterson joining us here on the show. Stay tuned when we come back to Dallas. Bily Jones will have a final report on what's gone on today and what to look forward to tomorrow with Tennessee hitting the stage. You're listening to the George Plaster Show on 95.9 FM.
Good afternoon. Wrapping up the paperwork on this wreck that's been out here for several hours. It was a truck that flipped earlier on Harding Place, right over I-65 here in South Nashville. Traffic's pretty busy right now north of town on 65, working your way up through the Madison area, just trying to get on that ramp to Vietnam Vet. Still moving right now, 24 out through Antioch, out towards Rutherford County. Hey, whether you need a new roof repair, or a roof inspection, call these guys, independent roofing specialists. That number is 991-2358. I'm Commander Chuck. You're on time traffic.
Progressive presents good news, bad news, dumb news, then great news. Good news. A letter in your mailbox says you could save money bundling your home and auto insurance with Progressive. Bad news. You saw it after your teenager backed the car into the mailbox. Dumb news. A new mailbox, basically a box on a stick, costs up to $400. Great news. You decide to see if you could save money bundling at Progressive.com and go with paperless mail instead. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers not available in all states.
The smarter way to clean your floors. It's time to make the swap. Swiffer Power Mop.
Introducing the new Swiffer Power Mop, the all-in-one tool that gives you a mop and bucket clean in half the time. The solution's built right in, so no heavy bucket, and the pad has hundreds of scrubbing strips to get deep into grout. Don't mop harder, mop smarter.
Swiffer Power Mop. Swiffer Power Mop.
Do you find yourself looking for new and exciting things to do locally with your family during the hot summer months? Thanks to Strike and Spare, you don't have to look any further. Sign up today for Kids Bowl Free. Kids Bowl Free is a summer pass where your kids 15 and under receive 2 free games of bowling every day. You can also purchase a family pass that allows you to join in on the fun. Visit any of the 5 local Strike and Spare locations in Hendersonville, Donaldson, Hermitage, Tusculum, and Murfreesboro, or visit kidsbowlfree.com/Strike and Spare and sign up today. Strike and Spare, where fun is bowling.
When the arena lights dim for a concert, or when the crowd becomes one at a big game, you can almost feel like you're the biggest fan. But who's your biggest fan? It's the person that will get you home safely after a night of drinking. It's the person who looks out for your life to make sure you leave the stadium with someone sober. This could be a designated driver or someone who offers to get you a ride share. Because in Tennessee, fans don't let fans drive drunk. Brought to you by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office, a division of the Tennessee Department of Safety and Homeland Security.
Atlanta Braves baseball is back, and the battle for a 7th straight division title is officially on.
Hit high and deep to left center. This has got a chance. Gone! Another home run for Olsen. He smokes another one. He lit the fuse on this bomb, and that's gone.
Listen to every pitch live, exclusively on your home for Atlanta Braves baseball. WNSR, Nashville Sports Radio.
Okay, it has been a busy first day of SEC Media Day activities down in Dallas. Let's head back down to the Omni Hotel where Nashvillian and University of Missouri student Bily Jones anchors our coverage. Billy, what do you got?
Yeah, well, Greg Sankey, this was his moment. He certainly relished in it this morning, just brought two of the preeminent programs officially into the league in Texas and Oklahoma, and really punted on some major questions as far as the future of college athletics in regards to, scheduling in the SEC, a 9-game conference schedule, adding more teams. Instead, he really just chose to kind of enjoy it and relish the fact that he's brought two elite championship level programs to this conference. We also had we had South Carolina and Vanderbilt come in today, and both of those programs talking about ways that they can change things up after what was a disappointing season a year ago. And then we had LSU and Ole Miss, two teams that were just right there, both talking about ways that they thought they could build a championship defense to help them compete at the highest level. For Ole Miss, that was about Jimmy's and Joe's. Lane Kiffin talked about needing more length and size to go up and compete against teams like Georgia. And then on the LSU side, from Brian Kelly, he talked a lot about his new defensive coordinator, Blake Baker, coming from Missouri. Not necessarily bringing a different schematic approach, but just a different relationship approach and maybe a way to get more out of his players than he thought Matt House has the last couple of years.
So, Billy, tomorrow Tennessee goes, did I see it right, at 10:30 Nashville time?
Yes, that's when Josh Heupel takes the main stage.
Yeah. And I would think a lot of good news around them with Nico, and they're another one of those teams that's kind of sitting there going, if we can get to 9-3 or 10-2, we got a shot.
Yeah. And one of the things that really stuck with me last year that Heupel said was that he said inches are a lot harder to move than miles, talking about building a championship program. And, last year Tennessee took a step back, obviously, from that Hooker year, but even at 8-4, 3 of those losses were blowouts when you talk about the Georgia, Missouri, and Florida games. So they've certainly got some self-correction to do. They think they have the answer at the quarterback position, the guy that can elevate them to the next level. They bring back a lot on offense and a decent amount on defense. So it's certainly going to be there. I'm interested to see how high he is on Nico. Also hear from some of the other Tennessee players. We got Amari Thomas, Cooper Mays, and Keenan Peely all going to be in attendance. What have they seen from the young fellow? And what do they see as far as their expectations? Also, 3 other teams going to tomorrow that, I think going into the season expect to be in that 12-team playoff. Talking about Oklahoma, Georgia, and Missouri. Going to be interesting tomorrow. A lot of really talented football teams with, big expectations coming into this next season.
Billy, thank you. Great job on day one. We look forward to more of it tomorrow at 4 p.m. Central.
Sounds great. I'll see you then, George.
Bily Jones reporting live from the Omni Hotel in downtown Dallas. Kelly, see you tomorrow.
See you, brother.
Nice. Billy, see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. Who are you taking tonight?
Nobody. There are no games.
Okay, that's on me.
Yes.
That's probably
It's
probably
called the All-Star break. Yes. Okay, we're done. There's the music. See you tomorrow.